What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're doing a comparison of the Fantastic Model or Fanstoys dock with the Takara Tomy Masterpiece Ratchet. So these figures came out quite a few years apart. This is from 2016, one of my very first reviews on this channel. And this guy just came out, it's the end of 2025. I'm reviewing it in 2026, but it did come out in 25, the very end, December. So yeah, it's over 9 years apart. And I did do a comparison of the Fanstoys Ironhide with the Takara Ironhide. So this will probably end up very similar. There are some differences in terms of the accessories, but everything else is very similar. So I am expecting it to be a similar outcome. However, I still like to do it just because I know people are excited to see these videos. With that being said, I try to be as objective as possible. Of course, there's subjectivity when you're judging things like this. So if I pick one and you prefer the other, then you win. I really do these comparisons to help people decide what direction they want to go with their collection, including keeping both of them, which in my case, I am going to keep both. This will be in alt mode and this will be in robot mode. With that being said, let's get started. We'll start off with the accessories. All right, so here's all the accessories they come with. Obviously, a lot of accessories you go through here, so we'll compare them one by one. And you'll notice that the Takara is already on a sled. The Fanstoys doesn't come with a sled, although you can remove the top portion and back portion of the robot to get the sled. It doesn't actually come with it separate. So I am going to count that as an accessory. The Fanstoys does come with a piece of the sled. Can't really be used on its own, but it does sit into the sled once you get it together. So let's go through each one. We've got the shoulder cannon done in chrome. The Takara is full chrome. The Fanstoys is painted and chromed. And they both can attach in both modes. Actually, I think the Fanstoys cannot attach in vehicle mode. They both come with the chrome, what I call the air filter gun. Full chrome. They both come with the tool from that one episode. Very similar, these two. Almost identical. They both come with a set of wrenches. Again, very similar on those. And now we're getting down to nitty gritty. We've got two guns, done in this style, and Fanstoys, same thing. They've got two guns done in the gray paint, silver paint. They both come with a welding torch. Looks like that. The Takara comes with this gun. The Fanstoys comes with this gun. I'll just count them even. Different tools, but. And here's kind of what you're left with. We get this. I think this is more of a welding torch that attaches to his wrist. So I'll count that off with the backpack. You do get a blast effect here. I unfortunately broke one piece of it. And we get one blast effect for this guy. This is used with certain weapons, whereas this one can only be used with the gray style weapon or with the backpack. And then we get the blast effect. And I'll count it off with this, another welding or tool that he uses for repairs. Here's what you're left with. We get the display stand. Now since this isn't a full display stand, I'll count it off with one of the faces from Fanstoys. And here's what we're left with. We end up with the Marvel comic head as well as 3 additional faces. So Fanstoys is going to win on accessories. All right, next we'll talk about the gimmicks on these two. And the Fanstoys actually has a gimmick where the backpack and the upper body can detach and become the sled. Now the Takara already had the sled separately, but it is able to do that. However, in vehicle mode, it doesn't really have any weapon storage at all. The Takara does have storage. It not only has a peg on the back where you can plug in different weapons, can plug in the cannon, you plug in different things on the back. But you can also plug in underneath the vehicle mode into the, I think it's the wheel wells, some of the guns. So they also have this. Now, it's just a piece of cardboard, so I struggled to actually call this an accessory. It still would have lost some accessories, but this can be inserted into the front of the chest in vehicle mode. I guess you could do it in robot mode too. So you have that look. So I'm going to give gimmicks over to Takara. They should have a little bit more going on in vehicle mode and also with this little piece. Right, next we'll talk about the cartoon accuracy. In order to do that, we'll put the G1 image here so you can take a look for yourself. And for me, this is no brainer. The chest section, especially because of this on the Takara, you got the lights and the bumper here, as well as the shape of the chest. And then when you come to the side and the back, I do feel the Fanstoys is much more accurate. I do like the face sculpt, but the head is also a little bit small. And I didn't really realize that until I saw the Fanstoys. So I'm going to give cartoon accuracy over to the Fanstoys. I think they nailed it with the look of Ratchet from the cartoon. When it comes to sculpt, I'm also going to give that to Fanstoys. It's very clean throughout. They really did a good job on both the legs as well as the back and the sides. You've got these windows on the back of the Takara. Now, this is one of the early figures where they weren't going super tuned, but they were headed in that direction. So it's kind of in a transition. But I'm going to give both accuracy and sculpt to Fanstoys. Next, we'll talk about paint and build on these two. When it comes to the paint, both of them are pretty much fully painted. The white that you see and the red, other than the hands on both, is paint. The Takara has some unpainted parts up here. The Fanstoys is pretty much 100% painted. They're very close in amount of paint. However, the Takara, I've transformed this, I don't know, 36 times, many times, and I don't have any paint chipping or scraping. This one has multiple spots where paint's chipping, and I am trying to be careful with it, but the more I mess with it, the more I lose the paint. So I'm going to give paint over to Takara just because they don't have that issue. Next, we'll look at the build quality of these two. Both are pretty darn solid. The hardware, this Takara figure, again, has been through a lot. It's very old. No issues as far as build. I do think the butt wheels, that's an issue with the sculpt, like I mentioned earlier, but it doesn't really have any problems per se. Fanstoys, I already mentioned the paint, so I'm not going to dock them again for the paint. The build on this is pretty solid. It's got pretty nice die cast, feels solid. It poses well, plants solidly on the floor. Overall, it doesn't feel like there's any issues with this one, so I'm going to give them a tie on the build quality. Next, we'll go over the articulation. In order to do that, we'll articulate each one individually. Whereas the Fanstoys head's on a rotating swivel, goes up to there, down to there, and rotates around. Shoulders right around a friction joint, out to the side on a hinge. You have a rotation at the bicep. It's a little tight due to the paint. Single joint elbow, but it gets you past 90 degrees. You have a rotation at the wrist. Individually articulated fingers at 2 pins. Thumb is on a ball joint. And pin. For the waist, you have a waist rotation on a ratchet. Ab crunch gets you down to there. For the legs, hip skirts will move out of the way in the front, back, and sides. Legs will kick up to there on a ratchet. Back to there on a ratchet, limited by the sculpt. Out to the side on friction. It holds, though, even though with the weight of the die cast. It's tolerates nicely. Rotation of the thigh universal. Double jointed knee gets you the full bend. Ankle tilts out to there, and then forward and backward, kind of built in due to the transformation. And next we'll take a look at the Takara. We have head on a ball joint. So you get forward and backward, side to side, which that one didn't have, and a rotation. So we get 1 extra point on the head. Shoulders rotated on a ratchet. It's a weird setup because it gets locked right here. You can get it around, it's just odd. It's a very odd joint. Shoulders go out to the side all the way up to there, just due to the way it's designed on a ratchet. rotation at the bicep. Single jointed elbow gets you 90 degrees. That is a little shorter than that one, but it's not double joint there, so I'm not going to give them the extra for that. Rotation at the wrist, you do have the fingers on a single pin. They're all attached together, so those hands are going to win individually articulated fingers, since this one doesn't have individually articulated fingers. Coming out of the waist, you have a waist rotation. No ab crunch. These older figures didn't have ab crunch all the time. You have hip skirts on the front. They kick up to there. Back to here, hindered by the butt flaps. Out to the side on friction. It holds fine. Well, it's a little bit loose, but it holds okay. Rotation at the thigh on a universal. A little bit limited there. Single jointed knee gets you 90 degrees, much less than this one. Ankle tilt out to there and a little bit of forward and backward. So because of the extra ab crunch, the double jointed knees, and the articulated hands, we're going to give articulation over to Fanstoys. Although it is nice to see that Takara did have the side-to-side head movement over the Fanstoys, but yeah, we're going to give it to Fanstoys. All right, next we'll talk about the transformation and engineering on these two. When it comes to transformation, I'm not going to waste any time. The Fanstoys is just not fun. I hate the transformation. Whereas this one I've transformed dozens and dozens of times. It's very intuitive and fun. We'll give it to Takara. Comes to engineering, while I do appreciate some of the cool things that Takara did, they were some of the first of its kind, especially up here on the chest, down here in the legs with some of the flipping panels. They're very it's uncleanly. You know, it's got some shortcuts taken here on the chest. Now, this is the Shadow Fisher kit. Normally, the wheels sit on the side, so I think that's not great engineering to just let the wheel sit there. That definitely doesn't seem like it's finished. And you'll have to ignore that I've got the kit there just because it doesn't come with that kit. It's a separate add-on kit. But this guy is really clean, you know, in both modes. But getting there, the transformation is just not fun. Also, it doesn't have any storage in the vehicle mode. And I think a lot of things could have been engineered a little bit easier and better to make things smoother. They didn't need to do the sled thing, right? The sled definitely led to some complications and issues with the transformation. So I'm going to give engineering over to Takara. I just think it's more fun and more well thought out when it comes to, you know, what's it trying to do. Despite the sculpt not being as good, I think they did a better job. All right, here they are in their alt modes, and I gotta say, what a nightmare to transform this Fanstoys. But they both look pretty good. I do like the shade of blue on the Fanstoys a little bit better. There's a lot more breakup on the panels, especially right here. You can see the translucent blue through the white paint. On this part, there's a lot of breakup in panels that just don't align perfectly. I do like the die-cast wheels with rubber tires, but this one cleans up a lot better. Here's the back. It does have a windshield wiper. It does have more realistic taillights. It does have a chrome bumper and a exhaust pipe. It does have the flip-up storage for weapon, as well as 2 spots here on the bottom for storage of guns. So that's a nice addition. So overall, although I like the color of the Fanstoys windows, I'm going to give it to Takara. I think the vehicle mode overall is more cohesive and better looking, more realistic, and overall comes together. The gaps close up a little bit better on the Takara. Next, we'll talk about the cost on these two. And as always, I'll use the prices from ages 3 and up since I don't monkey with it. And the Fanstoys comes in at $212 on their website. The Takara back in 2016 was $100. Using the inflation calculator, that's going to come out to $135 in today's money. So Fanstoys is going to lose. The Takara is going to win significantly on cost. And the final factor in this comparison is the members' choice category, where I ask my members which one they prefer just based on their own personal preference and no other factors. And no surprise there, Fanstoys is going to win the Members' Choice category. All right, final thoughts on the comparison. You can see the score, and Takara is going to win this by 1 point. It's really close. And that's actually nearly the same as the comparison I did with the Ironhide. Takara won by 1 point, but it was 5-4. And one of the things I missed on that comparison was the weapon storage in alt mode. Now this one does have this additional piece here for be able to change the look of the windshield in both modes. But I did miss that the weapon storage. But I also gave accessories to Fanstoys in this one because they actually included more. You got an additional wrenches, right, and the little tool, which we didn't get with the Ironhide. So that kind of pushed it over the edge on the accessories. So it was interesting to see that, you know, even though I gave Takara another point for gimmicks, the score ended up the same because Fanstoys gave you more accessories this time. So really close. For me personally, I think I'm going to end up keeping both. This will be my alt mode. This will be my robot mode. So far, you know, the paint scrapage isn't too bad compared to the Ironhide. So I'm happier with this one. But it still has that risk of the paint scraping and chipping, which is kind of unfortunate. You know, it makes me not want to transform it at all. So this will be the guy that I'll mess with and transform. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Nick the Toy Guy for sending this out so quickly, and we'll see you next time.